Okay, we've given everybody the polite 2 minutes to join us, and we're gonna jump in. All right, welcome everybody again to today's webinar, Automate the Complex Close, Accrual, AI Journal Entries, and Keeper Scale. My name is Elena. I run our marketing organization here. Before we jump into all the delightful details, just some housekeeping. First off, the session will be recorded and we will send it out as well as posting it on our YouTube channel. We do have a good chunk of time set aside for Q&A at the end. You should see a Q&A box in your side panel. So certainly feel free to engage there. And then for our avid customers on the line, just a kind of housekeeping on the product side. Keeper Scale is live for some customers right now and will go live for the majority of accounts throughout the day. Very exciting. If you have negotiated a contract with a discount, we just need to move over your account for some billing reasons. You will not be having a price increase. Nobody panic. But that's just something that we're going to need to deal with. All right. With that out of the way, let's get started. So I'm going to give us a very brief overview of kind of the evolution of Keeper's product and how we've thought about product development. I'm going to pass it then to Ben for a deep dive of accruals and Jillian for a deep dive of AI journal entries. And as promised, we'll have Q&A at the end. So without further ado, let's jump in. So Keeper has been on a journey of sorts to reimagine the close. When we started, really the vision was make every month-end close better. And the foundational principles of that were to deeply integrate with the GL at any point possible, and then to develop a product that focused on taking action and not just tracking. And so when it comes to actual product development, what that kind of manifested as is what Keeper is known and loved for today. Robust file review, very strong task management that kind of, tied together. And those two tied together give us that action and tracking. A customizable client portal, robust interactive reporting, a client dashboard that allowed you to keep track of everybody that you were dealing with. And then, of course, 1099 handling, a beloved feature by all, especially in this upcoming end of year. All right, so kind of with that all built, we then started to think about what are the next pieces. And so we added onto our vision this idea of unifying the bookkeeper's workflow. And so bringing more workflows into a single space, and then also just streamlining the system so you're moving between fewer tools and fewer tabs. And again, in our product, that manifested as Keeper emails to allow you to stay in Keeper as you are working through your emails and kind of keep that task and client communication still right there. An expansion of the Keeper product to include a tax suite to allow you to manage taxes. And then also our Keeper Receipts product to allow for receipt management. And this pretty much brings us up to mid-2025, let's say. So now the question is what are we developing now? Where does the current product features that we're announcing fit? And that's really starting to actually reimagine the close. So instead of just making what is known better, really starting to think about where we can innovate and reposition the close as a workflow. And so this really comes down to AI that supports expertise and saves valuable time, and then just more workflows working together. And from a product perspective, what this looks like is accruals and AI journal entries, which I won't go into, but also our new AI bank feeds product that takes kind of a look at bank feeds and how they should be done and just puts our own spin on it and really brings that into the forefront of your close. And then a feature that we'll be releasing shortly, a little sneak peek, called AI financial summaries. All right, so that's kind of the Keeper view of the world. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what is available in the product today and kind of the range of different skills and tasks that can be done. With that set up, I'm going to pass it to our fearless leader, our CEO and co-founder, Ben Stein, to talk about accruals. Ben, I'm going to also ask you to unmute yourself.
Someone had to do it, so
You
I'm
know,
happy to have covered that grenade. So I'm thank you, Elena, for that wonderful introduction. I'm super excited to talk to everyone today about Keeper Accruals. Both one, because I think it's going to transform your close if you do accruals at all, and two, because this is probably the feature I've wanted most for the longest period of time, where I've had spreadsheets that I've been uploading and downloading and checking in and checking out of Keeper, and I've had a task that says manage accruals, and then managing accruals has been this painful manual process of navigating between Keeper and a spreadsheet and QuickBooks and back to Keeper to make sure everything gets done and tied out. So with that, super excited to talk to you about why we think Keeper Accruals is better, and then what is actually better about it by diving into a demo. So I think this boils down to three main benefits. They all are interconnected, but the first is speed. You'll be able to move through your accruals more quickly. One of the reasons for this is you don't have to navigate between a spreadsheet and a list of transactions you want to add to that spreadsheet, and a list of journal entries you need to make from that spreadsheet, and a reconciling balance that ties out to some cell on that spreadsheet. But instead, all of these things are seamlessly handled together with the click of a single button. By virtue of all the things we need to do to make that process faster, that also makes it more accurate. And this ties to what Elena was mentioning earlier about connecting the entire close. One of the most common sources of errors in any process is jumping between different contexts. So if you need to download a spreadsheet out of Keeper or out of QuickBooks, mesh that into another spreadsheet, or type data into another spreadsheet, and then pass that back to QuickBooks, you end up with a lot of opportunities for errors to happen throughout that chain. And then if something needs to get changed at some process and you need to rerun back through that flow, there's a lot of opportunities for errors. So by virtue of, once again, connecting all of those into a single cohesive system, not only are you able to do that faster, but also the work product that you get out of that is going to be more accurate and less error prone. And lastly, connectivity. Of course, there is the narrow lens of connectivity that is because the connectivity is what powers this whole feature. So I'll show more about what that looks like momentarily, but the connectivity is what allows for you to take action right from any transaction that you're looking at inside of Keeper. But also the connectivity is what allows for you to have that entire loop be closed. So instead of having sort of three different sources of truth that you need to reconcile against one another, you have one system of both action taking and record keeping, so that all of the work gets done with a single button, and that keeps everything connected and in sync. So with that, would love to share my screen here and walk you through a quick demo of what your close could look like if you do accruals with Keeper. Okay, so I'm here on the close page, and much like when I demoed receipts about a year ago today, the nicest thing about Keeper Accruals is it's designed to work just like a normal task inside of your close. So there's very little that you need to learn. There's very little you need to change in the way of workflow. So previously, for example, you might have had a task here that says perform prepaid expense amortization, and then you have some manual checklist of downloading the last month's prepaids tracker, updating it with new purchases, copying and then rolling forward some journal entry, and then tying everything out back against the source document that you just updated. Keeper's flow works very similarly. The only difference is we automate that entire process for you. So if you turn on Keeper Accruals, you'll see a new section here called Accruals that you manage in your section manager the same way that you manage any other section in Keeper. And this section will only be enabled for the clients that you enable accruals for. So if you have some cash basis clients and some accruals basis clients, this won't be clogging up the feed where it's not needed. Once you add an account, you'll see all of the transactions that are in that account that have been added to the register, and whether or not they've been also added to the schedule that Keeper maintains for you internally. I'll talk about what that schedule looks like momentarily. But so here, for example, we can see we've got a 6-month LogRocket subscription. We've got a conference sponsorship that's in July, and you can see right now we're in June, and we have a 12-month Salesforce license. So to add that transaction to your accruals, you can see it's already in prepaid expenses. So what we need to do is amortize it ratably over the lifetime of this contract. All we do is we click add to accruals. Here, we have to specify a duration, so that just that 6 months that we mentioned earlier. And then type in the software or the expense account we want to use. In this case, that will be software. And what you can see this does is it takes that data and it allows you to ratably post the $500 a month every single month for the next 6 months. All we need to do at this point is click post, and you can see this will automatically make all of these entries into the future. So you only need to do that one time rather than going and making a monthly entry that you need to keep up and in sync. And when that's adding it to your ledger, it's also adding it to your schedule. So we're adding the LogRocket asset to your prepaid expenses. We're also adding all of the ratable amortization entries here in your schedule as well. We'll do that a couple more times just so you can see how easy this is. So for a conference, for example, this is only going to be rated over one period, but it's not going to start in the current month. Instead, it's going to start in the month of July. And here we're going to post it to advertising. And again, you can see here, super simple. It's just making that one entry here in the future, and you can post the transaction. Last but not least, we've got that Salesforce transaction. Again, we just type software here, 12 months, post, and you can see it's going to take all of those transactions and post them into the future into QuickBooks. So super simple to manage your prepaid expenses. Once you've done that, we have another asset here. We've got, instead of prepaid expenses, we've got a fixed asset here. Keeper accruals works great for those too. Once again, we've got a computer here, and all we need to do is click add to accruals, specify the duration. So if we've got a 36-month process or 36-month life for our computers, we can set that up as well. We've already configured our expense account to be depreciation, so we don't even need to fill that here too. And we can see that's going to go ahead and make 36 entries. Now, this should be pretty quick, but if you're making dozens or hundreds of different entries, sometimes that can take a few seconds. And then last but not least, again, 36 months here. And then that's going to automatically post all those entries. And so what was previously a process of copying and pasting data and posting it between a spreadsheet and a journal entry, or maybe making recurring transactions in QuickBooks, is now just a couple of quick clicks directly inside Keeper. All right. Once you've posted all of those transactions, the last step is to check your schedule and tie things out. So to do that, you go to your Accruals tab, which is a new tab you'll see if you've enabled Keeper Accruals. And you can see all of your schedules either grouped up at the schedule type or down to the individual schedule here as well. So if we look at our fixed assets, we can see the balance from the ledger for the account in this period. And then we can see that compared against the schedule balance. You can see there is no difference, so it's ready to reconcile. Similarly, we can see that broken out for the original cost, accumulated depreciation, and net book value. Same concept exists here, but for prepaid expenses instead. And so here we've got our net book value compared against our schedule, and we have no difference. If we come back into Keeper, I'll show one last thing here, which is your account reconciliations. And so here, where previously your timestamped balance column here could refer to either your timestamp or an intercompany account, now that we have accrual schedules, it can also tie out against that schedule automatically. So here we can see we've got our prepaid expenses, and again, those two balances are tying out. So we can see that automatically shows up in green. So we can go ahead and mark all of those complete. All right, so that's a quick tour of what you can do with Keeper Accruals today. As you can see, it takes a process that was previously very manual, very tedious, very spreadsheet bound, and turns it into one single automated system that just lets you take the actions you need to take, and we handle the rest of the bookkeeping from there. And with that, I'm going to also turn things over to Jillian to talk more about Keeper AI journal entries.
All right, thank you, Ben. And that's amazing. I'm so excited about accruals, and I'm also so excited to introduce you to one of my all-time favorite new features, AI journal entries. This one is near and dear to my heart as an accountant who has entered multi-line journal entries many times. And so just to kind of get into how we thought about this feature. Elena, if you want to go to the next slide. One thing we talk about all the time on the product team at Keeper is about how we need to be smart and careful about our AI features. There's a ton of AI stuff coming out all the time. There's a lot of hype. And we've just discussed that the absolute most important thing for us is to use AI to empower you, our account users, and give you better, more efficient tools to make your work faster, easier, and more enjoyable. So our goal with AIJEs is to move you and your teams through the mundane to free your day up to drive more insights, go deeper, add more value, and spend more time on relationships, or just let you step away from your computer a little earlier. So let's run through the 3 core benefits of AIJEs before I give you a quick demo. So echoing Ben's point on accruals, speed is the first benefit. And I'm sure everyone here can think of a time where you've had to manually copy and paste line after line after line of data from a spreadsheet or a PDF into a monstrous journal entry. And not only does that data entry take time, but if you miss a line or your debits don't equal your credits after your hour of work, first you want to cry, and then you have to go back line by line to figure out where that error happened. So with AI journal entries, you spend some initial time setting up a prompt. You map out your accounts and where things need to go and which classes they need to go to. But then you can upload your source file, and the data entry happens in the background. While you go grab a coffee, check another task off your list, and then next month, if you have that same entry, just reuse that saved prompt, and the whole process can take a few seconds. The next benefit is accuracy. So I did just hint at this, but our built-in behind-the-scenes journal entry prompt understands the mechanics of a journal entry and then makes sure you'll end up with a balanced entry. So now that you've freed up your time, you can come back to check that journal entry against the source doc with fresh eyes to give a super high quality review of the results prior to posting it to the ledger. And then finally, consistency. This is the biggest one for me. Like, there's nothing quite like spending an hour figuring out how to post a complex journal entry, nailing it, feeling so good about yourself, putting it away for a month, and then next month staring at the source doc again with zero recollection of how your former self posted that journal entry. So with AIJEs, you can get your entry just right, save the prompt as a template, and then apply that to next month's transaction. So you can still make slight tweaks if the entry changes at all, but you have a baseline to work off of with clear documentation of what gets posted and where. So now let's see it in action. I will share my screen here. Okay, so AIJEs is going to live in this transaction files area. So you can just upload your files to the upload inbox and scan it, and then it will end up in this table here. So I'm going to pop into this loan document where we've got a bunch of escrow accounts that amounts get posted to. This is one of those ones where it just causes a little bit of mental strain every month when you look at it, not quite sure how you did it last month. So I'm going to choose journal entry here. If this is the first month I'm doing this, I would just kind of type in my prompts, let the AI know where everything needs to be mapped. But since I have done this before, I'm going to go browse a saved prompt. I'm going to choose this SBA loan statement prompt. So you can see I've told it to look only at this section, mapping the different accounts to, I've just written in my exact kind of word for word chart of accounts from my QBO ledger. And then you can choose whether you're going to include classes or locations as well. And then I'm just going to hit generate. This process runs in the background, so we can actually close out of this if we want, go to another one. I've got this payroll entry here. I'm going to apply this saved prompt. I'm not actually going to generate this one because this one's quite a bit larger and can take a few minutes. But let's go back here. Still working. And just for this scenario, I did run the same entry a little bit earlier, just so we don't have to wait for it. But you can see here, this is without making any changes, we can see that the this principal amount got coded to the correct loan account here. It included the description that I wanted it to add as well, added my vendor that I wanted to show up here. And then we can just go down the line and make sure everything got posted correctly, or sorry, got generated correctly. And then looks like the debits equal the credits. The total payment amount is correct. And I'm going to go ahead and post to the ledger. So that's the end of the demo here. I'm going to just go back to my slides. So just like in addition to the loan statement or payroll docs, you could imagine uploading reports from point of sale systems, from your Stripe or Square, real estate settlement docs, allocations. If you have something, an entry that's already in QBO, but you need to allocate across different classes or locations, or really just any other multi-line journal entry that eats up your time and mental energy over and over, are great candidates to play around with, get them set up, and then not have to have that same mental strain and time output in the following months. And with that, I will turn things back over to Elena.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jillian and Ben. All right. So many questions flooding in, which is fantastic to see. Before we jump into them, I am probably going to preempt a handful of them by quickly talking pricing. Okay. So first and foremost, keeper prices are not going up, period. What we wanted to do really was start to move over to a tiered system that allowed you to pick a package that worked best for what you were offering your client and then pass it along to them. And so Keeper Core, which is the exact same product that was formerly Keeper Premium, remains $10 a month, same thing. Plus is basically what used to be Keeper Premium, as well as the add-on of Keeper Receipts. But now we have a nice little tier and bundle that we can continue adding features to. So for example, I mentioned one-click AI financial summaries earlier. Those will end up in that plus package. And so keep adding stuff there. More value, same price. And then we have our scale package, which has everything in plus, everything in core, and then the new accruals and AI journal entries. And then we continue to have our firm-wide add-ons. So no raised prices. Nothing's crazy happening. And that's where we are on pricing. So with that, I'm going to move to the Q&A. There's been a lot of questions here on, I'm going to start with accruals. So Ben, I'm going to start with you. And the first kind of like grouping of questions is really, how does it handle it? Can it do it? Kind of bundle. I have a laundry list. I don't know if you've been reading along, but I can prompt you and you can demo them. How do you want to do this? I'll just give you a laundry list. And you are going to need to come off mute, although your video is acting a little strange. Jillian, how do you feel about answering questions on accruals?
I can do my very best.
All right. While Ben gets that sorted out, aren't live demos and videos just a delight? Maybe we could talk about AIGEs. I've had less time to go through those questions. But all right. There was one that I saw here. Basically,
I saw one question about whether or not we can post additional types of transactions, like expenses or bills, and that is something we are going to be adding. It's not currently available, it's just JEs right now, but we will be adding multiple new types of transactions.
Ben, welcome back to our show.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Good.
Okay, you have lots of questions waiting for you, which is very exciting. So I'm going to start by just kind of listing out a laundry list of all the various types of things that fall into the can it do it, how does it do it category of accruals. So first, payroll to me. Payroll accruals specifically.
Okay, I think I might have cut out for a second. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, lovely. I'm gonna try to like not move a muscle, but okay.
Yes.
So so I got the list here. So apologies if I'm answering questions that weren't asked or not answering that were okay. Payroll accruals, not yet in the version that is going live today, but this should be payroll accruals should be supported in probably the next 2 weeks to a month. Deferred revenue is, I think, either this week or next week. Accrued expenses, same deal this week or next week. Prepaid expenses, I think we already covered. Annual versus monthly, I'm not 100% sure what you mean there, but if you mean taking a whole transaction and sort of posting it in a single slug every year, that's doable. Sold early. I also saw the question about asset dispositions. That is something that we will be natively supporting in the next 2 weeks to a month, maybe slightly longer, but absolutely supporting asset dispositions that will unwind the accumulated depreciation. Tax, I'm not 100% sure what that means. We are looking into potentially having like book and tax depreciation balances. That's not quite as close as some of the other features that we've just talked about. But whoever asked about tax, feel free to follow up and we can address your question more personally afterwards.
All right. The next, we're going to keep going through these. We're going to cover as much as we can. The next kind of grouping of questions is around like how do you get data into it? How do you get data out of it? What does that look like?
Yep, great question. Okay, this is actually one I'm going to share my screen for and explain live. Okay, so on that schedule balance that we were looking at earlier, this is where you can upload a CSV. So probably all of y'all today are managing your spreadsheets or managing your accruals in some sort of a spreadsheet. And so we have these prepaid and fixed asset workbooks, and you can download them here. And it should hopefully be a pretty straightforward process to update your transactions from your current spreadsheet into this version. So here you can see we're asking for the source account you want to post something to. This is the fixed assets module, but the expense account is very similar. We're asking for the vendor that you want to associate with this accrual, the expense account, the date posting starts. This is, I think, a really important concept that merits a little bit of incremental explanation. So the basic idea is you may have a laptop that's half depreciated, and you don't want to have to tell us you don't want us to make depreciation entries that have already been made. So basically, date posting starts is the date you want us to make the first depreciation entry and everyone going forward. So if you've depreciated, if you've run your depreciation process, for example, through August, and you want this to start in September, you can put any date in September here. You can put 9/1, you can put 9/30. By convention, we do post all of these entries at the end of the month. So as long as you put some September date here, we'll start posting those transactions in 2025. And then here we've got original cost. We call this book balance. We should call this net book value. So expect to see that probably change in the template.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in. I'm seeing the import from CSV page.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, lovely. Okay, I shared the window, not the whole screen. Hoisted on my own screen sharing petard. All right.
Happens to the best of us.
I've got the screen sharing error and the don't forget to unmute error. So I think I'm covered on all the errors you can possibly make on a webinar. Okay. Can you now see what the spreadsheet looks like?
Yes, we are. Also, don't curse yourself. We'll find another one if you say it.
Okay. All right. So basic idea is you just list all your assets here, and you have the aforementioned columns I was explaining. This date posting starts is that date I was explaining earlier. And then you have your original cost, your book balance. This is the same as net book value. So we'll probably change this column header name. And then your total accumulated depreciation. And so from there, that's going to keep your schedule up to date, and that will also post all remaining transactions. So if we upload that here, it will have you walk through a mapping flow. Of course, I don't have a depreciation expense here. We can just call this depreciation. So you'll see any errors. And then basically it will take you to a review screen where you can see all of the entries it's going to make into the future before you import. Okay, so that's how you can import your current spreadsheets. If you have a lot, like you want to roll scale out for 20 plus clients and you had a lot of entries to make and you want or help with us, we would be more than happy to do so. You can write into the chat or email your CSM, and we're happy to help you actually update these spreadsheets to a model to a form that can be uploaded into Keeper.
Awesome. Okay, I am going to hop over to AIJEs for a minute. Jillian, we're going to turn it to you. First thing, there's a number of different questions around prompts. Where did that prompt come from? How do you reuse them? Do we provide templates?
Great question.
Ended prompt for you.
Yeah, so one thing we did is to try to make it very easy to hop in and just get super specific on the context of that particular transaction. So we built a prompt in the background that explains to the AI, like, what is a journal entry? What am I trying to do here? What needs to happen in order to post a balanced journal entry? And we'll do the same thing when we roll out additional, like what is a bill? Where does it need to post to? What does that look like? But then what your job is as the accountant is to provide the context about that transaction and then map it to the specific chart of accounts in that for that client. We are going to be able to make prompts available across different clients. Currently, they are client specific, but we are working to make them firm wide so that you could, have maybe if certain clients are very similar with their payroll JEs and you have a standardized chart of accounts, you'd be able to apply kind of the same prompt across multiple clients. We do offer some guidance for prompts. We can say, give some, how do you want to map your accounts? How do you want to map your classes? And then we need you to add that detail. But I do anticipate that we'll roll out a few prompt suggestions as well, maybe some templates around things like HUD statements or payroll JEs or something.
Yeah. All right, next question. I'm going to read this one verbatim. With the AI journal entries and posting daily sales, any thoughts on how we can automate getting the sales summaries into Keeper? Can Keeper connect to any point of sale systems or common payroll companies?
I don't know, Ben, I see you nodding.
Yeah.
If you have any thoughts.
Good question. What I would say, what I would probably recommend, and it's very much, so we don't have any dedicated integrations, although we do have a public API. So if this is something where the company is sort of open to setting up an integration, something we could explore. What I would probably recommend, if this is something your point of sale system can do, is if they let you email your daily sales reports, you can set up your daily sales reports to email directly into Keeper, and then that will go into your transactions, at which point you can run the AI journal entries on that point of sale report, and that will post to your ledger.
Anything to add on that, Jillian?
No, I've also the auto kind of setting up emails into that receipts forwarding email where things can end up automatically. I thought about that with, certain vendors will have, when we support bills, you could set those up to auto forward in there as well.
All right. So we have another question here, which is about scanning documents and generating AIJEs. Does it have to be a journal entry? I guess we already did this with, can you post expense transaction from the scanned document?
Not yet, but we will support.
I feel like there's a lot of themes here, which is like coming soon, which is, I feel like really tracks to our product development and our engineering, how fast our engineering team is working on everything in Keeper to just, keep moving things forward. Okay, I am going to switch gears briefly and talk pricing briefly. and answer some of those questions. So if a client is currently on both premium and receipts, will they automatically get switched to plus at $25? I think you nailed it. That's exactly what happens. And now you see that you have one client on plus as opposed to one client on premium and one receipts add-on. So that's exactly the goal of this tiering system. And then can the scale plan be enabled on a per client basis? Not all clients would benefit from AI journal entries. I feel like I wrote these questions myself and I did not. That's exactly the idea as well. So no, if you want one client on scale, that's fantastic. Put one client on scale, keep everybody else on core. They are meant to be mix and match. They are meant to allow you to match what you are offering your client to what you are paying Keeper and the features that you need from Keeper. And the reason that they, kind of build on top of each other is because the functionality and the support that you're offering these clients is often building on top of each other. There is also a question around like pricing, but also like AI bank feeds. Great questions. We are working to get AI bank feeds out of beta and into GA. Jillian is the active PM on the final pieces of that. We are hoping that AI bank feeds will go GA in October. And I think that that's a reasonable expectation, and that will be included in core. So if you don't see it today, you can join the beta. But if you don't see it today, it will also be seen post. All right. Whew. I am frantically moving through these as quickly as I can, people. So I'm sorry if I missed one of your questions. It's a lot of like reading and talking at the same time, as I'm sure you know. All right, top of screen, and since I'm on the topic, will AI bank feeds include a bank reconciliation feature? Jillian, you want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah. I'm actively working on this. So QuickBooks gives us a little bit of trouble with their API and pulling data around reconciled and cleared statuses via their API. So we've run into a couple of roadblocks there in terms of being able to actually complete the reconciliation in Keeper. However, we are adding on and making some really cool improvements to our Chrome extension that will sit on top of the reconciliation module in QuickBooks. So you'll just reconcile just like you normally do in QuickBooks. It works well. But then we have a button that will auto clear transactions that you have coded in the Keeper bank feeds. And then we're building some really cool functionality to sync a bunch of that rec information back into your account reconciliation tasks. So you'll start being able to see things like reconciled through date, your statement ending date, your statement balance as one of your balances to compare to the balance at the end of the ledger. Your ledger at the end of the month. And then we are also going to allow syncing the reconciliation report automatically from QuickBooks into the account rec task as an attachment. So just like one click, all that information comes over. And we're also building some additional tools to make reconciliations easier and better, but they will still kind of natively live in QuickBooks.
It's a fun topic. And that's all right. I'm going to keep this on you, Jillian. Another question on journal entries. If I upload a spreadsheet for journal entries and need to break down the sales over several days, is that possible? Think eBay sales spreadsheet.
Over several dates, is that?
Days.
Several days. I do believe we intend to support posting multiple journal entries from a single source doc. We don't do that at this time, but I'm fairly certain, Ben, that we've talked about this. But
yeah, this is
something use case you run into.
It should be coming eventually. I'd say I have a personal in our close use case for this, but not live right this very moment.
All right, perfect. All right, question for you, Ben. Accruals and JEs, AIJEs, will they be available for QBO and Xero?
They're only available for QBO right now. However, I know this is something that I apologize to the Xero folks who feel like you've gotten the short end of the stick for the last few major releases, but we do intend to support receipts, AI journal entries, and accruals, all with 0 long-term. So we want to make sure we get a good positive experience out for QuickBooks firms, but then we do absolutely want to bring this to 0 as well.
All right. We got a lot of people interested in this AI bank feeds beta, Ben. I think you're going to have a busy afternoon.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think so. There's some other questions about the integrations with QBO, I think for both of these. So basically on the accruals side, how does that manifest in QBO, Ben?
This should be the same as our normal integrations process, which lets us read every transaction and write every transaction. So earlier when you saw me posting from the list of prepaid expenses, that comes from the register of your prepaid expenses. So that shows you all of the transactions that have been posted to prepaids and lets you add to the accrual schedule from there. When you actually add the accrual schedule, we post journal entries into the future. So all of those get posted out via the same mechanism.
Okay. Jillian, any comments on the QBO integration with AI journal entries?
Nope, just transactions will post just like you're used to, sync over, including the source documentation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, is the accruals feature intended to replace a balance sheet, workbook, and all those schedules?
With the combination of Keeper's existing reconciliation functionality, the new features that will be coming live that Jillian was discussing, and the integration between Keeper's reconciliation checklist plus with Keeper accruals, yes, the goal is that your entire reconciliation workbook can live within Keeper.
Amazing. All right. It's a popular. All of these are popular topics. I think so. We have 1 minute left. I guess there's been much interest in both, like all of these features. I will give this both to Jillian and Ben. Like, what are you most excited about that's coming down the pipeline in the next, let's say, month for each of your topics? So, Ben, do you want to talk accruals in the next month?
Yeah. So we said a lot of things that are coming live. Should go live in the next month. So that's your accrued expenses, your payroll journal entries, your rev rec. Basically, all the accrual schedules you could think to make should be going live. I also saw one question. I don't know if we talked about it when I was indisposed with Wi-Fi issues. Thus completing the trifecta of possible webinar issues. But loan amortizations is something that I think was a pretty commonly asked question as well. I don't think this is going to go live in the next month, but it is something that Accruals is intended to support.
And Jillian?
I would say the support of additional transaction types and AI journal entries, and then also just a teaser for the AI financial summaries, being able to draft an executive summary note that actually reads through the financials at a drilled down kind of vendor payee level, and then provides at least a starting point for those executive summary notes to add your insights for clients. So that is coming soon.
AI is exciting to you and like everything we're doing, which I love. I mean, these are all fantastic answers. All right, we are 1 minute over. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We will send out the recording of all of this. And if you do not see accruals in your account today, it should be rolling out to most accounts today. So give it a couple hours. And then if you are on an extended contract type, that is maybe the one exception, and we will make sure that we are in contact about that. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your day.